If I didn't mention it clearly in the last video, I'm coming out with a few videos to tell a little bit about myself before doing what it is that I'm really trying to do. I don't remember the last time I had my hair like this. I feel like I have a wig on. It's hot. I forgot it was recording. I feel like kind of out of it right now. And I know the last video I said that I was tired, but I feel like I really feel out of it right now. Thank you guys for coming back. I still can't believe I'm doing this. Like, what? I'm shocked. I've really outdone myself. Episode 2. Before we get started, I kind of wanted to clarify some things from my last video. I wanted to clarify the whole thing with me hating school and just school overall. I definitely wanted to mention that I think school is great from my experience. Not saying that you have to go to college, but I do think that it's a great experience, and I think that everyone should experience it if they can, even if, well, of course, I'm not going to tell you to drop out, but I just feel like it's the perfect step into adulthood, because you have high school, which are people that you probably grew up with. And once you're in your teens, you're not really like an adult. Between high school and college, that transition into adulthood, I think that it's great because it kind of forces you to meet other people, helps you to be more responsible. Your parents can't really do that much for you, so you're responsible for your own schedule, getting there on time and things like that. Your ride situation, if you're staying on campus, you finally probably have like somewhat of freedom. So I do think that is a great experience. Definitely not taking that away. Me personally, I just didn't have the best experience because of like what I was going through mentally, but that was just me. But even then, if you are going through something mentally, I still feel like you should push through, because you never know if that's what you need in order to kind of put you in a better position, or it just forces you to push through things even if you may not want to do it. It helps you build some type of like consistency. So yeah, I would definitely recommend for sure. And I also wanted to clarify when I said that I wasn't boy crazy. I guess in my head, when I say boy crazy, I just mean like big on having like this boyfriend in school, or like a huge crush, and just like known that I had this boyfriend or that I like I just, that wasn't on my mind when high school came around, honestly. And again, I just didn't care for any, I just looked at them as boys, especially because I had guy friends. I've always been more closer with guys, of course, outside of family. So I never fantasized boys like that until maybe my junior, senior year, where it's okay, you're cute. But overall, I just want to clarify when I said boy crazy, because it's like, okay, because I said that I went to prom. So that was very much contradicting. So that's a conversation that I'm going to talk about in the video probably after this one, more about relationships and things like that, but that's not what we're here for today. I kind of wanted to speak on what I do for work and pretty much like what led up to that. I may have mentioned it, but just overall, I don't advertise certain things. I just wanted to speak on that. The purpose for that is to get you to know me a bit more before doing what it is that I'm really trying to do. I don't feel like it's fair for me to do the thing that I'm going to do without letting you guys know about me. I felt like this was the best way to do it. So bear with me. I am a certified dental assistant, licensed esthetician, certified lash tech. My license also includes a certification in laser treatments and some other body machines as well. And I am currently working on 2 other things right now that I will mention later on, probably towards the last video or so. And I'm also going to be explaining a little bit more in depth about how I knew the dentistry field was for me, because I am in dentistry right now. I don't do anything with aesthetics, and if you don't know, aesthetics is pretty much skincare, so facials, waxing, lashes, all of that stuff. So right now I'm just in dentistry. So the 4th episode, I would say, I'm going to explain more in depth how I specifically chose dentistry, because it was a bit of a random thing for me. So my first job was actually Kohl's in Oceanside, and it's funny because I remember when I started working there, it may have been the holiday season, and that's when I found out that my cousin actually worked there. That experience overall was nerve-wracking because, again, with those emotions and anxiety and things like that I had in high school, that did not go anywhere. So I was at the cash register, palms sweating. I think I enjoyed overall helping people, but working there itself was very nerve-wracking. I remember having to take breaks in between working, like going to the bathroom and just having these moments, which I don't know if I was having like an anxiety attack, but I didn't know what that was, and I never said anything to anybody because I'm thinking like, oh, maybe this is what people go through when they have their first job or something. So I internalized everything like I've been doing before, but this was a whole other level because remember I told you in high school I had my sister and best friends and cousins and things. So before I even knew my cousin was working there, it was like I was just out by myself. And the only reason why I worked because I liked buying sneakers. So, and I just wanted to be busy, I guess. So after Kohl's, I think I ended up at Aerie in the mall. That was actually worse for me in a sense because it was so small. I couldn't take breaks like I was in Kohl's because Kohl's, of course, is a huge department store, and Aerie was this tiny box where if you left, you had to wear a microphone. So they were, if you went missing or even if you went to the fitting room to go help someone out, they're like, hey, Jackie, where you at? There wasn't much escaping that I could do with that. And I think at that time, Hurricane Sandy happened and our power went out. We had to go stay with a family friend at that time. And I remember they had called me. I was on schedule to work and I told them what happened. And they were basically like, still expecting me to come to work. So that was kind of just my like moment to be like, okay, bye, see y'all. I just told you I don't have no power. Like, how are you expecting me to come to work? Well, I guess I could have still went, but no. So yeah, I just never went back. And that's the first time I ever did something like that. So then we'll fast forward to, because I can't think of when I worked for Finish Line, but then I worked for Bath and Body Works. I worked for Bath and Body Works 2 times, 2 separate years. So the first time was in Roosevelt Field. I'm skipping to the second time, which was in Broadway Mall. They start you off like on the sales floor. So, you know, when the customers walk in, you're speaking to them, you're helping them out on the floor, things like that. And then sometimes I would be on the cash register if I needed to just check somebody out. Actually, I just was doing better at the cash register and I just navigated more on that side. And eventually, I don't know if they just figured, okay, I was doing way better because I am not a salesperson. Like, don't ask me to sell anything. I just think that it's not my strong side. Like, just, it feels forceful to me and you gotta know what you're strong in. Selling is not my thing. Like, I can understand if I'm very passionate about something and I'm explaining something that works for me or something that I really love, but selling is not, no, don't ask me to sell. If I was like checking out a customer and for them to buy 1 sanitizer and I'm like, oh yeah, buy 3 lotions and you get 3 lotions for free, like, I'm not big on, yeah, just don't ask me, I'm sorry. So they ended up making me cashier lead, which I loved because I was just like super passionate about just helping people out. I would go above and beyond. If someone needed something, I'm running to go grab it for them, running to the back, going above and beyond to just make sure that they have everything they need, not necessarily trying to get them to buy stuff that they never came there for. It also made me feel good because there was times, like especially during the holiday season, when I knew that I was doing right or just doing a good job, because there would be times where people would like literally hand me like a tip or something. Like, just the idea or just like the gesture that someone is recognizing that I'm going above and beyond for them, like that kind of made me feel good. That is the hack for great customer service, is not just doing the bare minimum, but going above and beyond, because people are going to realize it. And I do feel like there is a science to it, because you never want to do too much where people are taking advantage of you, but do enough to where you feel comfortable, because there's some certain things where you probably just don't want to do way too much. If you're expecting a raise or you're expecting stuff out of like what you're doing, then it's not from the kindness of your heart. but just trying to figure out ways to improve the customer experience. No one could take that away from you. You could take that anywhere with you. Things kind of started to get a little better for me as far as with interacting with customers. I wasn't really social when it came to coworkers. I probably had one or two that I spoke to, but when I was in work, I was in that mode and I was just like super focused. I was obsessed with being busy at one point. I worked there and then I also worked overnight at Target while I was going to Nassau. So, and then on top of that, that's when I was like partying and going outside. So that was crazy. My whole schedule was crazy and I always stayed busy. So once I graduated from Nassau, I ended up moving to Georgia the first time because I moved to Georgia twice. And I was just ready to leave New York. I just always felt like going back and forth to Georgia since I was younger. And I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to go. I don't really have a reason to stay. I graduated. So I remember I packed up my car, drove to Georgia, and I did not have a job. I didn't know anything about transferring jobs or anything like that. So I just automatically thought, okay, let me put in my 2 weeks. I'm gonna go to Georgia and then apply to like these jobs that I'm at now. Well, Target or Bath and Body Works, and why would they not hire me? I remember I applied, I did not get a call back. And for Target, I think when you apply, you could go on the website to see like the status of your application. I went online and I think it said denied or something like that. So I remember calling the store like, why did my application get denied? They basically marked me as not hireable or something like that. And I thought that was crazy. Like, me? What? I loved working at Target. Like, I loved what I did, which was planogram. So that's basically like when you leave a store and then you come back probably like the next day or so and things have moved around. Like, that was what I did. Like, I moved the stuff around and set up and things like that. But I thought that was crazy. I'm like, okay, were they mad that I left? But again, I didn't know anything about transferring, because if I did, I would have just told them like, hey, I'm moving. Can you hook me up with a store out there? Because I had my car and everything. So yeah, so I was going through it. Didn't have a job. I was staying at my older sister's house, and my older sister has a best friend that owns a restaurant. Shout out to Tasty Spoon. Her best friend must have said to my sister like, oh, hey, I have this contract to do catering for Tyler Perry Studios. She could work with me or whatever. So she has a standalone store, but then she also has like a food truck where she does certain events. While she had the store open, there were some people that would go to the catering. I remember that schedule was so crazy. I would wake up at like 3:30 in the morning, get ready, drive out there and get there probably like 4 something, set up, and we did breakfast and like lunch/dinner for them. So we were there literally all day. I would leave there 6 o'clock, get home at 7. And mind you, driving home was crazy traffic. I was beat because it's like you're constantly making sure that everybody's okay, everybody has everything. You're on your feet. It was hot. Oh my gosh, it was hot. It was so hot. So you're like out in a tent, but it's still hot. And you're just going back and forth, helping people, whatever it was crazy. So I would be like half asleep driving home in traffic, in Atlanta traffic. And then I have to go home, take a shower, and lay down. The only good thing is I got to eat like while I was there. Oh, I ate too much. Hours were crazy, but I loved what I did. And the reason why I loved what I did was she eventually had put me in charge of the coffee station. So I don't think that we had like the coffee machine at first, but I feel like I did learn about good customer service from her as well. If one of the, what do you call it? Like if one of the people on the set had requested something, she would make sure that it was there the next day. If someone wanted like coffee, and which probably they did, she'll be like, no, but I'll make sure I have it tomorrow, and it'll be there the next day. Something as simple as we had, what's the hot sauce called? Hot Texas Pete hot sauce or whatever. And I remember they wanted Cholula hot sauce. I didn't know what the heck that was. She was like, oh, no, we don't, but I'll have it tomorrow. So every day there was a request, she would make sure that it was there the next day. Same thing with like, man, these people were picky now that I think about it. When it came to, I think we had brown sugar or maybe white sugar or something, and they were like, oh, is there cane sugar? or is there whatever, she would make sure that it's there the next day. Those people would recognize it and they'll be happy about it. That's when I realized nothing's ever too much. And there are some times where, yeah, like maybe you're not able to do it, but she made sure that she went above and beyond to get certain things that they requested. And she could have just said no, but like, no, she made sure that it was there. I actually enjoyed working there because, I think I mentioned this because she made me in charge of the coffee station, which anytime that a job ever puts me in charge of something, just like Bath and Body Works with like being the cashier lead or her with the coffee station, I'm initially probably a little nervous, but like once I get in the space, I thrive because it makes me feel good that you trust me enough to put me in charge of something. And especially if I could put my own little like razzle dazzle on it, like it makes me feel good. The cashier lead was like first position, made me feel good, and then the being in charge of the coffee station, and it made me feel good because we were seeing these cast members every day. So like, you know, we're building a rapport where they remember my name, like, hey Jackie, or I'll remember exactly how they want their coffee. Mind you, I had no experience with any type of coffee whatsoever. I was not any type of Starbucks girly, we're Jamaican, we had tea. Like, tea is what you're getting, you're not getting coffee. So I didn't know anything about coffee, and I think I had even asked her how to work it, the coffee machine, and I feel like she is also good with like figuring things out and making it look simple. So it was like, just I don't know, do. And she just figured it out. And once she showed me, I was like, I have no choice but to like figure it out. So I really took pride in that. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing about that coffee station. Yeah, that was me. I also thought it was cool because eventually me and someone else had to go deliver food to the cast members in their suites as well. That was cool, just going in there. It looks like a big building. Okay, cool. But then when you go into the major suites and stuff like that, they have like these big glass windows and they're doing their makeup. Luckily, they were like super nice. I thought that was so cool, like to just knock, open the door, and it's like, oh, hey, thank you. And it's like, I was trying not to like, you know, look too much, but I was looking around like, oh, this is nice. But I thought that experience was pretty cool. What was her name? Tika Sumta had came down to grab food. Just like cool seeing celebrity, of course, and just being in that type of environment, because I would have never thought that I would do something as far as catering, let alone for Tyler Perry Studios. So I thought that was like a very cool experience. So thank you, Ramon, for thinking about me and putting me in that position, because that was a stepping stone to learning much about just building the customer experience. Eventually, I believe the contract had ended. When that was dying down, again, I still didn't have a job. Nobody had like called me back. I think one time I had an interview, or they wanted me to do an interview for Bath and Body Works. I don't know, something just like kind of didn't feel right. So when that was done, I had no job. I randomly searched up dental assisting, and I compared the costs for school in Georgia versus New York, and I found one that was cheaper in New York, and I was like, okay, this is it. But again, I'm gonna get a little bit more into detail about that, how that came about in like the 4th video or so. But yeah, packed up my bag, drove to New York, enrolled in school, and yeah, that was dental assistant school. So once I finished with school, I went on a bunch of interviews for different dental offices, and as you can imagine, it was a little tough because I didn't have any experience, and I felt like the school that I went to didn't really teach me much. It was more bookwork than anything. There were certain things that we were supposed to learn hands-on, but we missed some days because the classes was from, I think, like September to December or something. And in New York, you know, it snows, and for that year it was snowing a lot, so some of our classes had gotten canceled, and with a limited amount of time, I guess they just figured, okay, let's just give enough information in order for them to pass the test versus the hands-on. So yeah, when I went to interviews and things like that, it was tough because I didn't have experience. I remember there was this one office that wanted to hire me, but they were saying, of course, we would have to teach you, but we don't have the time. There was one office that I went to in Massapequa Park. Shout out to Dr. Haroon. I did not have experience, but he did hire me. I started working at the front desk, just checking in people. Then eventually, when I pretty much got a hand on that, Love Kim. Thank you, Kim, for pushing me to the limit, because it's not like my anxiety went away. Especially starting new things, it's still there, like in the beginning. When I started, yes, I was nervous, but I was cool because I'm like, okay, just checking in, checking out, grabbing IDs, simple. Kim was like, oh, can you call to confirm patient? That was tough for me because I was nervous. One, in my head, I'm just like, okay, I have to call these strangers. I don't know what to say. I didn't feel like I had enough like personality or script. I was just super nervous. So, and imagine that office is called Massapequa Endodontics. Again, shout out to Dr. Haroon. If I ever need a root canal, knock on wood, I'm flying out to him because he's the best endodontist in Long Island. But that office was called Massapequa Endodontics. So imagine having anxiety, being nervous, and calling strangers. I'm like, hi, my name is Jacqueline, calling from Massapequa, and like, it was bad. All right, it probably wasn't that bad. But saying Massapequa Endodontics, like, I was not able to say it that fluid when I first started. And I didn't have a script or anything. So I had to ask her, like, hey, what do I say? How do I say it? And she was super patient. Oh my God, I love her. She was super patient for me because with me. And just imagine me, no, I'm lying. I wouldn't be like that. But I just remember saying, it's okay. Just say this. And she stood next to me, made sure she grabbed a business card, make sure that I read it out correctly. And yeah, as time went on, I knew how to check in patients, I knew how to call patients. And then she's like, okay, time to start assisting. Man, I was so scared. I was so scared, and it was just a little intimidating because it's crazy. Yes, I did dental assisting. I went to school for dental assisting, but again, they did not teach us anything hands-on. So this is the first time that I'm doing it. And it's not like I'm practicing. There's a patient in the chair, the doctor is sitting down, and I have to assist. Gosh, I think I was like sweating. I was just so nervous. And if you hesitate to pass anything, he has his hand up for you to pass it. Don't let him turn. And he was super sweet, don't get me wrong, but he's working. Like, there has to be some type of pace. Let's fast forward. I was knocking it out the park. Like, oh my gosh, I love assisting. But I just wanted to learn so much more. So if I was at a beast at checking in, checking out, confirming, assisting, I was just like, okay, what's next? What can I learn? So the only thing that I didn't know was insurance. Hey, Lynette. So I'm just like, okay, can you teach me how to do the insurance? So I got checking in, checking out, calling patients, assisting, insurance. And again, here's why I'm not against school too, because I love learning. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't care for school because I didn't like the idea of like cramming in all this information just to take like a test. And I'm more hands-on and just doing things like repetitively. So I lost my train of thought. I learned everything. I'm just like, okay, what's next? That's just my personality. I'm always like, okay, what's next? What's next? What else can I learn? So there was nothing else to learn. It was a very small office, one doctor, 3 or 4 girls. There wasn't much to do. So I was there for a few years, and it was like, okay, I got bored, or I was like, okay, I want to make more money, or it was both. But I ended up applying to another office that was close to where I lived. It was like literally 5 minutes away. Interviewed, got the job, and I remember when I had spoke to the first doctor that I worked with to let him know, like, hey, I got another job. I will never forget when I told him. He looked a little sad. I remember when he told me the grass isn't always greener. When he said that, I won't lie, I was like a little nervous, but I'm like, I can't go back. So I was like, it is what it is. I love that office so much. I'm so grateful for that opportunity. But I was just like, you know what? Me being Jamaican, why not have 2 jobs? So I was like, let me work at my office, the new office, Monday through Thursday, every other Saturday. And then with the first office, I worked every Friday and every other Saturday. Again, I was obsessed with being busy, so I had 2 jobs. Oh yeah, and I did have 2 jobs when I was going to school, dental assistant school. I don't know. I'm just Jamaican. So working at 2 offices, and we were all around the same age, even the doctor. So it was pretty cool. Again, 5 minutes away from home, so I got to go take a nap at home because I'm doing this craziness with my hours. I decide to go to school for aesthetic. I'm working 2 jobs and then I'm going to school for aesthetic. So right after work, I would go to school, and then I was working Monday through Saturday. So I only had Sundays off, but it's Monday through Saturday working and going to school, and then also finding time to hang out with my friends and drinking and partying, all this stuff. So yeah, that was wild. I wouldn't be able to do that now. But the second office that I worked at, I was checking out patients. I'm like, okay, what else can I do? Ended up assisting the hygienist. So the hygienist, if you don't know, is the person that cleans the teeth. You have the hygienist and you have the actual doctor. So you typically get the cleaning by the hygienist. If the doctor isn't doing it, the doctor will come in to do the examination. So some way, somehow, I think I ended up helping out the hygienist one day, and because I'm an assistant too, they ended up creating that position for me. The district manager agreed to it, and yeah, that was my role, or one of my roles there. And again, super cool. I love the people there as well. Great experience. I ended up leaving there due to an issue. I ended up walking out. Crazy, but shout out to Teresa. She is the best assistant that I know. Like, she worked her butt off. She was so patient. She was crazy, but I loved her. Like, she was amazing. Like, literally the best assistant I know, aside from Gigi. Hey, Gigi. But I ended up leaving that office. I ended up calling the district manager. Actually, let's go back, because when I ended up walking out of that office, something in my spirit felt off that day. And I don't know why, because we all got along. Again, everybody met my family, met my best friend. Like, it was cool. But something about that day, I don't know, was so off. You remember how I'm mentioning that I do multiple things? Like, and I love working. Like, I really do. I'm not one of those people that go to work, try and stall, or like try and like not work or something. Like, I actually like love what I do. So basically, there was a certain conversation that happened. Again, their energy was off, and I don't know how or why it happened. And I remember texting my best friend and telling her that I was about to leave. Well, I said I was gonna put in my 2 weeks, and I'm gonna answer the text message because it was so funny. Well, it was not funny then. Like, I ended up leaving there, walking out, going to my car and crying, like, because I just didn't understand what happened, how it happened, why it happened. And it really broke my heart for that to happen. But something clicked and was just like, call the district manager, because I wanted her to let her know my side, of course. So I ended up telling her what happened. She was like, okay, I'm going to speak to the other person and see what's going on. And she basically told me, hey, I don't want you to leave the company. I could find another location for you to go to. And I ended up choosing Freeport, I think, because that was the second closest. I was mad because I'm just like, or I was frustrated because I went from an office that was literally 5 minutes away from my home to like driving further out. And the atmosphere at the second office, even though they were cool, it was nothing compared to the first one. Still working 2 jobs at 2 offices and going to school. This was in 2020, so COVID had happened already. So this had to be in like towards the end of the year, November. So one time I was working at the first office I was telling you about, the endodontist office. I was working there, and I had got a call from my older sister, and she sounded very off, crying or something. So I was just like, what happened? And she was telling me that one of my nephews had gotten into a bad car accident. If you know me, I don't have any favorites, which people think that I do. But I'm very close with oldest nephew because we're close in age. He's someone that I post on my Instagram or something. People probably think that he's my man or whatever. No man. But he got into a bad car accident, and my heart just dropped. My heart dropped. I started crying and started asking questions, and she was like, oh, I have to go drive where he is, blah, blah, blah. So again, she's in Georgia, I'm in New York. After that, I remember going to work the next day. I couldn't get my nephew off of my mind. So eventually, my impulsive self was like, I'm moving. I'm going to my nephew. So I ended up packing up my coupe and driving to Georgia. This time I didn't have an office set up, but when I had told the district manager that I was leaving, she was like, oh no, I don't want you to leave the company. We can find a location out in Georgia. I ended up finding like 2 locations that was close to my sister's house. The first interview I went on, that was, I remember asking manager or whatever, what is it that you want me to work on? I remember her twisting that chair, and I'm not exaggerating, this is how she talked.
You're supposed to be showing me what you know how to do.
I'm like, in my head, I was like, yeah, this is not gonna work. Cause like, what? I still did my thing though. So like, I just went be me, went above and beyond, doing great, interacting with patients and things like that. And at the end of the day, she's like, oh my God, you were great and things like that. Mind you, I still got the whatever she said stuck in my head. So I had no doubt in my mind that I was going to get hired. But I'm like, okay, let me just at least hold on to this office just in case I can't get anything else. So I don't know if I told the district manager like, yeah, I didn't want to take it. And she's like, okay, I have another office that you could try out. But that was like pediatric, which means children. And kids and dentistry, nah, I wasn't with it, but again, I'm just like, okay, let me weigh my options out and at least go to the interview. I woke up to go to the interview, which I did not want to go to. I remember driving my car, and I had a brand new car. I leased my car, so I'm getting these cars with like 0 to 5 miles on them. So I didn't really have any issues with any of my cars. And that morning when I'm going to the interview, the tire thing came up. So I'm just like, what's going on? And this was December or something, late November, December, and it doesn't get that cold in Georgia, but I'm thinking like, okay, maybe the PSI is off because it's cold in the morning, whatever. So I ended up pulling over, and like sometimes if you get a nail in your tire, you gotta like search for the nail. As soon as I got on my car, I saw that huge nail. And what did I do? That was like the perfect excuse. I'm sorry, I can't make it. I got a nail in my tire. And to them, they're probably like, okay, Uber maybe, or like, maybe she's gonna find another way, but nah. I said I couldn't make it, and that was that. I ended up telling her, like, I think it's not gonna work out. And she was just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I would love for you to stay with the company. Please let me know whenever you come back to New York. I don't know why when people, like, I leave somewhere, people think I'm gonna move back. Well, yeah. I'm going to answer that text message here. But I ended up going on another interview, and God bless Aisha. I had a 2-part interview at this other office, and I totally bombed the first interview because that doctor was very intimidating. His preference on how he works is like totally different from the other doctors that I work with. And I kind of was just doing anything on purpose because I was like, yeah, I'm not working for this dude. So I ended up leaving. They called me to come back. The girl that worked up front, that called me for the interview, I told her like, yeah, I know I didn't do well and I really don't want to assist. I would rather like work up front, but they didn't have that position available at the time. But she had begged the doctor, can she come back for like another interview to work up front? Because I guess they were going to fire the other lady that was up there. Ended up doing that. They loved me, of course, and then I got hired. So thank you, Aisha, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have got that job. And it was perfect because I had left aesthetic schools in New York and ended up finding a school right around the corner from that job. It just worked out perfectly. Of course, I got to stay busy. So I did not transfer my credits from New York to Georgia because this was like the first time in my life where I decided to like choose the hard way. And I'm just like, you know what? COVID was going on in New York, and if you know, they were like on lockdown. So I'm like, let me just get the full school experience. I don't know why I did that because I just don't know why I did that. Do I regret it? I don't tend to regret a lot of things in life, but maybe, I don't know. Because in New York, you only need, I think, 600 hours for aesthetic. For Georgia, you need 1,000. So off the rip, it just was horrible because I had to go to school longer. So maybe what took a few months or a couple months in New York for 600 hours took 12 months in Georgia, starting from scratch. And it started off cool because we were hybrid, I think. think. And at that time, I was in a long distance relationship. So I was going to work at like 7 in the morning, going to school afterwards, and then coming home at like 9 or 10 p.m. And then on the weekends, I would like fly out to New York. So that was crazy because it was like by the time I went to New York, I didn't have like my full energy, and that kind of contributed to certain things that I'll explain in another video. But 12 long months, and I was miserable. I was miserable because I didn't care for that school, but I love the people that I met. Shout out to Miss Brittany. Oh, sorry. Brittany, Aaliyah, and Shanae. I love them. That's the best thing that happened to me going to that school, was like meeting them. Besides that, it was a crazy experience. I went through some stuff while I was there. Seeing people drop out, you seeing people have babies and miss days and leave and come back. Like a lot has happened within that 12 months. There's relationship stuff going on, people crying. Instead of being hybrid, we had to go back full time. And that was miserable as well, because we didn't want to go. Like we would cry, we were upset. There wasn't anything we could do about it. But I just went through an emotional roller coaster through that whole process. And then I was going through certain things at my job. Let's just say that. I graduated, got my license, and I just remember being so emotional because I'm just like, wow, I can't believe that I went through school again after hating school. You have to graduate the actual school and then take a licensing exam, a 2-part exam. That was nerve-wracking because there were people that I went to school with that wasn't passing, and I barely made it the skin of my teeth from there too, because I just, again, y'all know I do not like school. So I just skated on by, and there were people that I felt like actually enjoyed school that took the test and didn't pass it. So the fact that I passed it on my first try, both parts, I was like, wow. Like I just remember just having a ton of emotions like come over me while I was driving home. I ended up leaving the office that I was working with because things were not going well there, and I had applied to an office in Midtown. So that's where I moved out of my sister's house and moved into an apartment, and with a roommate at that time. So moved from my sister, and she lives in like the Lithonia, Stonecrest area, and ended up moving to Brookhaven. So when I moved to Brookhaven, I ended up getting a job that was in, if you know where Colony Square is, and we worked on the, 15th floor. So that was like a total change from working in Conyers, living in Stonecrest, and then to living the city life, like living in Brookhaven and then working in Colony Square. Like that was where things started to change for me. And that was in 2022, I want to say. The end of 2022, going into 2023. That's when I went through the breakup. I went into the new year with a lot of emotions, but I had a new job. It kind of changed my mind on a lot of things. Just working in that area, working in a high rise, the type of people that I was working with, they were about like health and looking good, eating good. It was just like a different change to certain things. For me, I didn't like how I was physically. I remember one of the years the doctor would ask, what's like something that you want to change for the new year? And I ended up working there for him to ask that question twice, I think. So the first time I don't remember what I put, but like the second time I remember putting that I wanted to be more like consistent in the gym, even though I had no plan to go to the gym whatsoever. But that was January of 2023 was the start of me working out consistently and changing my diet. I started working out, and again, I chose the hard route. I said, nope, I'm gonna go hardcore, and I just went straight vegetarian. The thing about working out, and I want to encourage people to work out for sure, is that things don't have to happen overnight. It literally takes baby steps. Just take it one day at a time. I remember when I was working out for months and I never went on a scale, not once. And I didn't want to go on a scale because I didn't want to get discouraged. It literally wasn't until one of my coworkers had mentioned something about how I looked, like, oh, I looked good or something like that. And in my head, I still looked the same. So it wasn't until later that day, I think I went home, went on the scale, and realized that I lost 20 pounds. I was shocked because I'm just like, oh my gosh, she wasn't being dramatic. I thought she was being dramatic. You know, I thought she was just gassing my head up. But from that time, moving forward, because I only became more consistent, I know I had to lose probably more than 20 pounds. I just say that to say that if you choose the right job, it's going to align with like how you live your life. I do believe in a work-life balance. I remember the relationship that I was in, he used to want me to like work out, and I never wanted to work out. And he would just be like, oh, I think you would love it. And I just never wanted to. And now I'm like so consistent. But I'm gonna also enter like a picture of like before and after. At a certain time, I was just like, okay, I ended the relationship, but I moved out of my sister's house. I was working in a high-rise building, working out consistently. At that new office, I was learning as much as I could as well. But those other offices that I worked at basically helped me pretty much chill at this job. Like, I didn't have to do too much, and the things that I did, I didn't have to do it at such a high capacity like I did with the other offices, because at this new office, we kind of worked as a team. Each office taught me a lot, but that office in Colony Square, I love that office. Drescher and Cohen, by the way, love them. And it was a great experience. It was crazy because it's literally like one big family. I'm not going to say one big happy family, because when I say it was like a family, I think someone compared it to like a living room, because it was like people would get into argument. We would laugh, we would joke, we would be mad at each other. But overall, we got our work done and we all left on time. The doctors treated us like family. They really wanted the best for us. It was just literally changed my life. And at a time, the things that I was going through, you know, with the breakup and things like that, I just felt like that was a great office to work at, to change my mind and change my whole certain things that I was doing in life overall. But eventually I did end up leaving that office because I was moving into another apartment, and I thought that I was going to be living in a specific location, and that didn't end up happening. So I ended up leaving, going to another office, and remember the doctor telling me like, oh, the grass isn't always greener. The grass was literally greener in every office that I went to except for the one that I'm at now. Don't get me wrong. How do I say this? I love them. I do. But coming from Colony Square, again, high rise, so you can imagine the patient atmosphere, the diversity, the willingness to pay and things like that was there. From that to Stone Mountain, it's just a different experience and very challenging. I love the people that I work with though. I love the doctors. What's crazy about that is every office that I went to, there was some type of position that was created for me. So I'm gonna just fast forward to me starting that office 2024 February, and I think one of the reasons why they hired me was because I'm me. On my working interview, there was this lady or this patient that I interacted with, and they said that that patient was like one of their most difficult patients. And the way that I don't want to say handled her, the way that I interacted with her, they just could not believe it. They were like, wait, what? And I wasn't hired yet. I was just on my working interview. So they ended up hiring me and worked there for some months up until I would say the end of September or so. I had a conversation with one of the doctors, and I won't say what the conversation was, but kind of opened up my mind to things that I said that I wanted to do, and it just led me to think even deeper and even further. I realized that living in Atlanta was like probably not the best thing for me. I just didn't want to live in Atlanta anymore, and yeah, Atlanta was just like not the best position for me to be in at that time, and I didn't feel like I was tied to it because living by myself, not dating, family wasn't really visiting me. No shade though, because I tell them that all the time. But it just was, I don't know. I was just over it, and I wasn't really tied to anything. And I always felt like I wanted to live in other states. So having a meeting with the doctors and telling them that I was moving, and they were like, of course they didn't want me to leave, but they ended up presenting the opportunity for me to work remote for their office, which is crazy because it was just crazy. Like one day I'll go more into depth with that, but I bring up all of my, I bring up all of my work experience to say that every situation that happened or every office that I worked for was for a reason. And me leaving, I just had the confidence to say, you know, I'm going to leave. I'm going to put myself in a better position. I'm going to get paid more. And I just kept wanting to learn more. I wanted to get better. I wanted to serve the patients more. It just went back from me getting better and improving as being a better worker, being a better person. Like literally these jobs helped me be a better person. Every office that I worked with helped me a better person, I would say, and just opened my eyes to certain things, because again, from my childhood, I didn't have a chance to interact with many adults. So this job and this field kind of forced me to have certain conversations. I'm having conversations with people about traveling. They're taking their kids traveling to Paris, then Dubai, then this on like a weekday. Like this is regular for them. Or just like people that own their own businesses, or, you know, starting a family, people from all different walks of life. And that's what I love about my job the most. The fact that I get to have these conversations with people and help them out to go above and beyond. And I feel like that's what's going to get you far in life. Like learning how to serve people in a way where it's not about you. Like when you go to work, you go to work to work. I don't believe in going to work and trying to stall and just get a check or whatever the case may be. It should always be bigger than that. If you're at a job where you don't like, just leave your job. Or, you know, figure out maybe another position, or figure out what you can do to like better yourself. Like, do you have to take like another certification, or do you have to just become a better person, learn how to talk to people, learn how to resolve, you know, solve problems, learn how to do something else there. But you're never going to regret bettering yourself. I went into each office trying to see what else that I can learn. Not only does it help better myself, but it gives you a better backup as far as like wanting to get more pay as well. Because based off your work ethic, when it's time to like discuss a bonus or discuss a raise and things like that, they're gonna look at you going above and beyond, or you being consistent and things like that, and take that into consideration, hopefully. But I think that the dentistry or medical field is like the perfect field to get into if you're like ending high school. Maybe ending high school is a little bit too young, but like beginning years of college or so. If you want to learn how to interact with people, if you want to learn about insurance, I think it's a great thing because you get to teach your family and friends and things like that about insurance. I love that because there is a lot of dental fraud going on.
Is insurance fraud. We do not do that. It is.
On. It's real, guys. If you are ever curious about something, you know, I can help you out. But I've seen, not at the offices that I've worked with, but I've seen it based off of like what certain patients would say and like me helping them out. I wouldn't tell them that, of course, but I would say stuff where it's like, maybe you should look a little further. Or I'll tell them what to ask for when they're calling the insurance company and things like that. And again, I would only know to tell them certain things because I decided to like learn more information about the field. But overall, I think, yeah, again, dentistry is a great field to get into if you don't know like what you want to do, but you know you want to help people and work with people. There is kind of a science as far as like applying to certain jobs and offices and things like that I don't mind helping people out with, but you definitely have to be willing to work. At the end of the day, if you're looking to start your own business, it would be best to have a job first. So I do feel like most dentist offices are a little flexible as far as like time wise. So you're able to like finagle the schedule for like travel and things like that. Or if you have kids, they're a little bit more understanding. All in all though, I ended up telling that office that I was moving to Houston, and when they offered me the work from home position, it went from me feeling like the grass wasn't greener and just feeling like, oh my gosh, like what did I do? It ended up turning to be like the biggest blessing ever. So I really do appreciate that because clearly they see something in me where they trust me enough to work remotely for me to say, okay, she's going to be moving, but how can we still incorporate her in our business? And I greatly appreciate that, 1000%. Dentistry as a whole has taught me so many lessons. Every time that I think about leaving, I get reminded of like why I stay through like the coworkers and the patients that I meet, the conversations that I have. I've gained so many people's trust, like the doctors, for them to even hire me and create certain positions that were not there before. And I just feel like it all comes down to being passionate about what you do. I should definitely be passionate about like what you do, because it's gonna show. And if you're looking to like not be replaced, that's something that is gonna make you stand out for sure. Because again, there's a lot of people that just go to work just to work and get a check. I've been in dentistry for maybe about 8 years, and I'm constantly learning new things every time, whether it's how to speak to a patient in a certain situation, how to solve a problem, or just help them out in the best way that I can. There's always something to learn, and I'm so appreciative for this field, and I'm excited for the things that I'm trying to do in the future. But yeah.